Okay, so we're on example 3 here, y equals sine 4x. We're going to sketch this. When you type in y equals sine x in decimals, it might look like this, because by default we're in radian mode. We want to switch over to degree mode, so let's just change this. So we're going to change by clicking on the toolbar. We're going to change it to degrees by clicking on this button here, and it may look like a straight line. So calm down. We're going to change x to 360 degrees, or even perhaps 720, and you can see the shape pretty well. So now you can see that we're between -1 and 1, and now we have some nice degrees here. You can even change the step to 90, and that way you can see the shape. If you really want, you can even change the y values. I'm going to change it between -2 to 2. That's a bit too much. Let's just go between -5, the window settings, to 5. And this is not bad. You can zoom out a bit if you want as well. So you can see that between 0 and 360, it's the curly brace. 0 is less than equals to x is less than equals to 360. This is the actual sketch of y equals sine x. So what happens when we have a 4? If we type in y equals sine 4x, the b value is 4. It's going to be 4 times skinnier. So what's the period? Alright, so let's just focus on some notes here. So whenever you see that the b value is 4, b equals 4, please memorize that there's a formula for period. The period is equals to 2 pi divided by b. Now technically there's an absolute value there, because the period, we're not interested in negative numbers. The period, we think of it as the amount of time it takes for the whole cycle to repeat. So here the period is 2 pi, which happens to be radians, but we're in degree mode, so we're going to replace 2 pi with 360 degrees divided by b, and the b value happens to be 4. The absolute value of 4 is still 4. So here the period would be 90 degrees. That's the period, and as you can see from the blue graph, it takes 90 degrees for the entire graph to repeat. We can click on the maximum here and click on here, and if we subtract these two numbers, indeed we'll have 90. Okay, so let's try this one here now. Sine 1/2 x. So the b value is no longer 4, now it's 1/2, or 0.5. And as you can see, when the number is less than 1, it's going to be wider. If the number is greater than 1, it's going to be skinnier. So we can use the math here. Let's change the color. So the b value here is b is equals to 1/2. We memorize the formula that the period is equals to 2 pi divided by b, which is 1/2, which is simply 2 pi times the reciprocal, which is equals to 4 pi. You can say 4 pi radians, which is the same thing as 4 times 180 degrees, but we're not interested in degrees, we're interested in radians. We're interested in radians here. So it takes 4 pi radians for this whole wider graph to repeat. Let's zoom out and verify that fact. So as you can see, we're interested in the blue graph here. We're going to change the mode to radians, and we better reset the default here. Let's just refresh this page here. So if I type in y is equals to sine x, you can see this is our classic graph. Y is equals to sine 1/2 x. Put a bracket there, 1/2 x. You can see that it's wider. Let's change the step to pi. And you can see that certainly the graph goes up, down, and up, and it takes 4 pi for this second graph to repeat.